Hello everyone, here I'll discuss about the anatomy of hypophysis cerebri. So at the end of the section you would be able to describe the position of pituitary gland. You can list the structures related to pituitary gland. You can differentiate between the lobes of gland and also can differentiate between the hypothalamo-hypophyseal tract and hypophyseal portal system. So in this figure you are seeing this is the sagittal view of this head and neck. It's the anterior aspect, say the posterior. Superior, you can see this is the cranial cavity, this is the brain. This is the nasal cavity, oral cavity, then pharynx there. Yes, see the brain, this part is the cerebrum. Then this is a cerebellum. Then here, this is the brainstem. See here, inferior to that, here you can see this bony area, that is the part of this body of the sphenoid bone. There you can see this pear-shaped structure here. This is the pituitary gland or the hypophysis cerebri. This is the body of the sphenoid. Then inferiorly you can see the sinus here. This is the sphenoid air sinus. So in this enlarged view here, this is the body of the sphenoid. This part is called the sella turcica. This fossa here, this is the hypophyseal fossa, which lodges this pituitary gland. Then here in the first figure, this is the hypothalamus. This is the floor of the third ventricle. Then, so this pituitary is attached to the floor of the third ventricle by means of this pituitary stalk or this infundibulum. This part is the infundibulum. Okay. Then here again this is the sagittal view of this brain, anterior, posterior. Here this is the cerebrum, cerebellum. This is the brainstem, midbrain, pons medulla parts. Here see here, this is the pituitary gland. See this is the floor of this third ventricle. It's connected by means of this stalk, that is the pituitary stalk or this infundibulum. Anterior to this pituitary, you can see here this is the optic chiasma. Posteriorly you can see this is the mammillary bodies. Optic chiasma, where this optic nerves crossing of this optic nerves there, this forming the crossing of this nerves, this part, that is the optic chiasma. Then this mammillary bodies here, this mammillary bodies, these are paired nodular structures, forms part of this limbic system. Okay, that is the part of this reflective memory. Then here in this way, this is the cranial cavities, bony part. See here, this is cranial bones. Here this is the anterior cranial fossa. This part is the middle cranial fossa. Here you can see this is the posterior cranial fossa. It consists of this large foramen here, that is the foramen magnum posteriorly. This is anterior. Then see the middle cranial fossa. It consists of here there is a butterfly shaped one bone there. Here this is the sphenoid. So this bone, this is the sphenoid. This is the lesser wing, this one is the greater wing. Then the middle portion here, this middle portion, that is the body of the sphenoid. Center, see the body, it has a depression. This is the hypophyseal fossa, where it lodges the pituitary gland. Then here you can see this the coronal section, the frontal section through this pituitary. So this is the superior aspect, inferior, this is the lateral aspect. See this pear-shaped structure here, that is a neuroglandular body. Okay, that is the pituitary. Okay, and it's covered by this. Okay, here you can see this is the diaphragma cellae. These are the meningeal layer of dura mater. Okay, this forms the roof of the pituitary, and there is an aperture for this stalk which connects to this base of the brain. Superiorly, it relates to relation, that is the optic chiasma. Inferior relation, that you can see the sphenoid sinus. Laterally, this is the venous channel, that is the cavernous sinus. Consists of this internal carotid artery, then oculomotor, trochlear, then ophthalmic and maxillary divisions of trigeminal nerve. Additional to that, you can see here this is the abducens nerves. These are cranial nerves, and also sympathetic nerve plexus there. Okay, that forms the lateral lesions. Then here in this figure, this pituitary fossa or this hypophyseal fossa there. Here laterally, this is the venous one cavernous sulcus there, which lodges the cavernous sinus. So anteriorly, this is here will get communication. There is cavernous sinus, that is the anterior intercavernous sinus. Posteriorly, there is the posterior intercavernous sinus. These anterior and posterior intercavernous sinus forms the anterior and posterior lesions. So here you have seen this superior, inferior and lateral lesions of this pituitary gland. Then this parts, these divisions, the anterior part, this is the anterior aspect, this posterior, superiorly here. The anterior part, that is called the adenohypophysis. This is a glandular part. It consists of clusters of cells. Okay. Then posterior part, that is the neurohypophysis, consists of this neurological tissue. Then this is the hypothalamus, part of the hypothalamus. This is the infundibulum. Okay. Then the part of the hypothalamus which connects the hypothalamus to this pituitary, this region that forms this region is the median eminence. That is the median eminence. So this adenohypophysis includes the anterior part, that is the pars anterior. Occasionally there will be an intraglandular cleft there. Part behind this that forms the pars intermedia. Then extension of this anterior part towards the infundibulum, which aligns the anterior and lateral of the infundibulum, that forms the pars tuberalis. This part, that is the part tuberalis, that blue color tuberalis. So adenohypophysis includes pars tuberalis, pars intermedia, and this pars anterior. Then see this posterior pituitary or this neurohypophysis, which includes this median eminence, infundibulum, and this pars posterior. Okay. Then here this is the features of this anterior pituitary. See here, this is the anterior aspect. Posteriorly, infundibulum is connected to this floor of this third ventricle. So this is the anterior part, this adenohypophysis, which consists of this clusters of cells. Okay, those cells. See, coming to this structure of the cells. Okay, we take a section and stain with the hematose and eosin. Okay, these are these clusters of cells. See this one, these are clusters of cells separated by here. You can see it is highly vascular. This is the capillaries, fenestrated capillaries, sinusoids there. Okay, it consists of chromophils, chromophobes. Okay, chromophils includes the acidophils and this basophils. Acidophils have the affinity to this acidic dye, which takes this eosin and gives the cytoplasm of that cells a pink color. See this one, these cells. Okay, this one, these are the cells. Here this nucleus there. Basophils, these have the affinity to basic dyes, which takes this hematose and gives the cytoplasm a bluish color, deep purple color. This is the nuclei. These are the basophils. Chromophobes, which have the less affinity to this dyes and this pale color cytoplasm, this is the nucleus. These are the chromophobes. This acidophils, here the acidophil secretes this one, growth hormone, prolactin. Basophil secretes this thyroid stimulating hormone, adrenocorticotropic hormones, then gonadotropins, okay, and also melanocyte stimulating hormones. Then chromophobes, which act as inactive, act as reserve cells. Okay, so that about this structure of this anterior pituitary. Back to this, see the anterior pituitary here. See this artery here, this is the superior hypophyseal artery. It's a branch of this internal carotid artery. Okay, it's supplying to this. There are numerous superior hypophyseal branches there, hypophyseal. Okay, it's towards this hypothalamus. This one towards this anterior part. Okay, so this superior hypophyseal artery forming a plexus here at the level of this median eminence. This forms the primary capillary plexus. Okay, through this it carries the releasing factors from this hypothalamus. Okay, so the relating factors are there in this primary capillary plexus. From there these are the long portal vessels there, long portal vessels. It forms a plexus in this anterior pituitary. This forms the secondary capillary plexus. Okay, so now this releasing factors reach this anterior pituitary, which stimulates the specific cells of this anterior pituitary. Okay, then it also stimulates the secretions. Okay, this hormone stimulates the other endocrine glands. Okay. So then there is these endocrine products, okay, which produces a negative feedback. Okay, that is it inhibits the primary releasing factors of this from this hypothalamus. Okay, then which ensures the homeostasis of the levels of this endocrine hormones in the blood. Okay, so here, since relating to this anterior pituitary, we can see here this is the superior hypophyseal artery. Here it forms, divides into capillary plexus. That is the primary capillary plexus. From there, long portal vessels are coming. Here it forms the plexus, that is the secondary capillary plexus. From there, the secretions is going to this venules, to this cavernous sinus through the systemic circulations. Okay, so what is happening here is the releasing factors reaching to this primary plexus. From there, it is reaching to this secondary capillary plexus. Okay, that one stimulates this specific cells of this anterior pituitary, which stimulates all other endocrine glands. Okay, and these endocrine products inhibits the initial releasing hormones, which provides a negative feedback that ensures homeostasis of the levels of this endocrine hormones in the blood. So this is the hypothalamo-hypophyseal portal system. So this from this superior hypophyseal artery to this primary capillary plexus, long portal vessels, secondary capillary plexus, then to this vein, then to the drains into this cavernous sinus. So this forms the hypothalamo-hypophyseal portal system. Okay. Then see in this posterior pituitary, see here, this is the posterior pituitary. That you can see here in this nuclei of this hypothalamus, you can see the cell bodies of the neurons. These are the supraoptic. This is supraoptic. This one is the paraventricular nuclei. There you can see these are the neurons, the cell bodies there. These are the axons from this neurons. Okay, this from this ventral part of this hypothalamus. These are the axons. See these forms. These are the axons. These are the unmyelinated nerve fibers. Okay, so towardsing this to this posterior pituitary that forms the hypothalamo-hypophyseal tract. Okay, then see this distal part where you can see this dilated here. Those areas are that region is the herring bodies. Those are the herring bodies. Herring bodies. Okay. So these axons consist of the secretory vesicles will be there. So the secretions reaches this posterior pituitary, okay, and gets stored in this herring bodies and gets released into this capillary plexus here. This is the capillary plexus. From there, it goes to this venules, then to this systemic circulations. Okay. So it consists of this vasopressin and this oxytocin. Okay, actually this vasopressin is from this supraoptic nuclei of the hypothalamus, and this oxytocin that is from the paraventricular nuclei of this hypothalamus. So this one, that is the vasopressin, which conserves water and reduces urine, that reduces sweating and all, and also there is a constriction of blood vessels and increase BP, which acts on kidneys. Then oxytocin, which act on this uterus, which contraction of the uterus, so it can use to induce labor, and also which helps to the contraction of the myoepithelial cells in this acini of this mammary gland, which helps to the ejection of this milk. So here in this posterior pituitary, you can see here these neurons. These are the non-myelinated axons, okay, from this nucleus of this hypothalamus. These are some 1 lakh nerve fibers are there nearly. So then here this secretions reaches this capillary plexus, then to this venules it reaches this systemic circulation. Okay. So this posterior part, which won't secrete any hormones, it acts as the releasing and a storage center of this vasopressin and oxytocin. Okay. See the same only is the posterior pituitary here. See this one, posterior pituitary, supraoptic, and this paraventricular nuclei. This one forms the hypothalamo-hypophyseal tract. Okay. See here, this is the structure of this anterior pituitary. We have seen. See the posterior pituitary. You can see this one. These are the nerve fibers are there. It's not very clear. These are the nuclei of the supporting cells. Can see these nuclei of the supporting cells, neuroglial cells that are called the pituocytes. Okay, so this nuclei can see. See this intermediate area. The intermediate area is the epithelial layer. Here it consists of some colloid-filled vesicles. So the structure of this sparse intermedia. Anterior, you can see this clusters of cells there. Okay. Then this blood supply here. See here, it's anterior lobe and this posterior lobe, anterior lobe here. This is the adenohypophysis anterior. This is the posterior. You can see the neurohypophysis. See the superior hypophyseal artery. Here, posterior, this is the inferior hypophyseal artery. There is only one inferior hypophyseal artery. There you can see more than two the superior hypophyseal arteries there. Superior hypophyseal artery. It forms a plexus in this median eminence that forms the primary capillary plexus. From there, this long portal vessels are there, which carries blood to this, okay, to this anterior pituitary and forms plexus here. This is the secondary capillary plexus. From there, this venous drainage to this cavernous sinus and the intercavernous sinus. Okay. See this inferior hypophyseal artery here. Here it is entering to this posterior lobe. Then it forms a capillary plexus here. From there, it's directly to this venules, venous drainage, to the same cavernous sinus and intercavernous sinus. See here, these are the long portal veins. There are some small veins which connects this capillary plexus of this anterior and posterior pituitary here. This forms the short portal vessels. These are the long portal vessels. These are the short portal vessels. Okay, that's about the blood supply. Yes. This nerve supply, we have seen that through the posterior lobe, that is the hypothalamo-hypophyseal tract, which consists of a bundle of about some 1 lakh unmyelinated nerve fibers derived from the supraoptic and paraventricular nuclei of the hypothalamus. It's applied anatomy here. This tumors of the hypophysis produce some symptoms. Okay, that is the pressure of this hypophysis over this optic chiasma produces the bitemporal hemianopia. Okay, and also this pressure on the cavernous sinus give rise to the exophthalmos. Okay, so an adenoma of this acidophils produce gigantism and before puberty and acromegaly in adults. Okay, then this lesion of the posterior lobe may produce diabetes insipidus. Okay, so that's all about the gross features of pituitary gland. Thank you.